Hi there. We are starting out on a new project today, and for obvious reasons that you will see in a minute, I have called it Jump. So I have a picture open here, and this is upstate New York where I grew up on a lake, and we're also going to combine another picture. This is Tandy, and we're going to make a project out of these two images right here. So there you go. We'll be working with these two images, and it will have the word summer in it. And let me tell you what we're going to learn. We are going to learn how to use mask layers, motion blurs, duplicating layers, coloring type with a gradient, and how to warp text. So let's get going. We are going to go ahead and reset the preferences in Photoshop so that we know our applications are reacting the same. So what you're going to do is hold 3 keys down with your left hand, your Command Option Shift, and you're going to go ahead and launch Photoshop. We get this message which we can say yes to. Let's go ahead and open the files that we need. We are going to go up to the top and either go File, Open, or Command O is our keyboard shortcut. Click on Documents. We are looking for a gray folder that says Jump Project. I see it down near the bottom. Double click on that. We're going to hold jump.jpg and lake.jpg and go ahead and open them. Now I did want to explain something that I have been working around. By default, Photoshop will open in tabs. So you actually have 2 pictures open here. You have the jump picture and the lake picture, but since it's in tabs, they're right over the top of each other. What I'm going to have you do is click on jump.jpg and just drag it. Then you can go ahead and click on lake and just drag it. And to me, it seems much easier to drag and drop the pictures this way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this picture to the left. Something I want to warn you about is you can see how it does this. It tends to want to throw them back into tabs. So if your picture disappears, it may have put it back into a tab kind of situation. So beware of that. That's honestly why I just like to turn the tabs off. Alright, so we need to go ahead and combine some pictures here, so we know we need to be in our Move tool. And so go ahead and select your Move tool, and we're going to click on the picture of Tandy one time to make that come to the front, and we're going to hold and drag it and drop it over the lake picture. Now the goal here is to get rid of this background that's a lake also, but doesn't have the scenery in the background like the one that I have, and replace it with this one, with the sky and the mountain and the green and the blue. So let's go ahead and dismiss this picture, the original picture, because we are done with it, and we've got the starting of our composite here. Let's go ahead and save it. So you're going to go up to the very top, File, Save As, click on Documents in your sidebar, and we are going to name it Jump. I'm going to do it in caps. You can do it however you want. First initial underscore last name. And of course, you are not Smith. So Jump, your first initial underscore your last name, and just say Save. You can say OK to this message, and we now have it saved. One other thing I'm going to have you do, go over to the right, find your layers palette, drag that, and tear it away from the rest of the palettes, because we will be using that quite a bit here today. Now the first tool that we are going to be using is the Quick Selection tool. Keyboard shortcut is W, and as long as you did reset your preferences with me, yours should be on the top. If not, it may be underneath that tool, so just hold and you'll find it underneath. But if you did reset your preferences, it should be on the top. Now I'm going to have you set some parameters for this. Up at the top it says 30. You're going to go ahead and change that to 20. You can either pull with a slider or you can simply type 20. And as far as the hardness, we're going to go ahead and set that at 70. By the way, if you get 68, 69, 71, not a big deal. Okay, great. Let me blow Tandy up a little bit here. There we go. Now go ahead and draw around Tandy. It's kind of a loose selection. Just rough, doesn't have to be perfect. Goes a little bit outside of her hand, not a big deal. Let's go ahead and make sure we get all her hair though. And I'm going to show you how we can fix some of those areas that have gone way too far. Alright, this is too much to have to fix, so I'm going to hold down my Option key. You can see what happens to the plus. It turns into a minus. So we're going to go ahead, and I don't want to lose that part of her bathing suit. There you go. Got it pretty good. And this is a little bit too much here. Let's see if I can get rid of a little bit of that. Great. So all I'm doing is holding down my Option key, and then I get a minus, which is going to let me take a little bit of this away. Very good. Now we need to make something called a layer mask, and it kind of quickly gets rid of the background, but not perfectly. So go over to your layer palette, and down at the bottom you have a series of icons. You have one that says Add Layer Mask. So go ahead and click on that, and you can see what happens. Using the quick mask, it went ahead and took out most of the background, but as we can see, not perfectly. So here's what we can do now. We are going to go ahead and choose a brush, because we're going to be able to paint out the areas that we don't want, and also put areas back if we went ahead and removed something by mistake. So let's go ahead and click on our brush tool, or the keyboard shortcut is B. I'm going to have you go to a size of 15. And that should work pretty well. Now I'm going to first start working on the fingers here. I'm going Command plus to blow this up. And a few things we need to do before we start painting though. You need to make sure you are clicked on the layer mask. Okay, it comes out in black and white. And while I'm here looking at this, let's double click on layer 1 and name this girl Girl. Great. Again, go ahead and click on this. You'll notice when you're clicked on either the thumbnail layer or the layer mask that you get a white line around it. Make sure you have the layer mask selected. And here's another thing. We need to be in the default black and white. So I'm going to click right below it to make sure I get the defaults. And I'm going to switch to black on the top and white on the bottom. Now you can go ahead and start getting rid of those areas that we do not want, say around her hand. Again, the black lets you remove, but if we were to make a mistake, mistakes happen. By the way, I'm holding down the space bar and I get that handy hand to let me move around. But say I were to switch the colors to white, I could put something back in. Let me go ahead and remove something. Say, oops, we lost Tandy's toes. We go ahead and switch to the white, and we can go ahead and put those back in. So again, black will take out the areas that we don't want, and white we'll go ahead and put it back in. Not that I want to put in some more sky, but I could if I wanted to. Your space bar will help you move around because you probably want to work pretty large. So let's go ahead and work on getting rid of the areas that we do not want here. One more thing I wanted to remind you about. I'm working on her fingers here, and I probably need a pretty small brush. Remember that right next to the P you have brackets, and just click on the brackets that are on the key right next to the P key on your keyboard, of course. You can go larger and smaller with the brush, and that avoids you having to go all the way up here, though you can do that if you want. So I'm just finishing up on her fingers here, and then we'll move on to duplicating some layers. I'm going to go really tiny here, and hopefully you are just about done with getting rid of that background too. Alright, I'm going to go Command 0 because that's just a quick way to bring it back down into an actual size, a size that fits on our screen, I should say. Alright, now we are going to need to duplicate this layer a couple times. We're going to end up with 3 of the Tandy layer here, the girl layer, I should say. We know to move something, we need to be in the Move tool. So I'm going to have you go ahead and select the Move tool. Make sure, really important, this isn't going to work unless you do this. You're going to click on the layer thumbnail. It is the color one, and like I told you before, you'll see the little white lines that are around it. And what I'm going to have you do is just hold Option and hold. Just drag down the Option key. You can see what happens to the Move tool. It gets a little extra piece there, and I'm going to go ahead and move it down. I am going to next show you how you align things in Photoshop. So what I'm going to have you do is click on Girl Bottom. Make sure you are clicked on the color thumbnail, the layer thumbnail, and just move that one down, that girl, down just a little bit. Now hold down your Shift on your keyboard, select Girl Middle, select Girl Top, and up at the top here you see a series of icons. We would like to distribute the vertical centers. So you're just going to click on that, and you can see it aligned all 3 of them perfectly. So these icons here are a series of icons that let you align items in Photoshop. We need to work on some opacity settings, so I'm going to have you click on Girl Middle, the color thumbnail there, and up at the top here you see opacity. You're going to click on that, and that one we're going to change to 80%. We are then going to go ahead and click on Girl Top, and that one, the opacity, we are going to change to 35%. Now opacity is basically how much you can see through things in Photoshop. Great, that's kind of a neat look there already, but we are going to do a little bit more. I'm now going to have you put in a filter. Make sure you are clicked on Girl Top. You need to be in the layer thumbnail, and we are going to go up to Filter, Blur, and this is called Motion Blur. And you can go a little bigger or smaller here with the preview if you want. You can also drag it around if you click inside there, but we're going to give it an angle of -90, and the pixels, we're going to go ahead and give it a pixels of setting of 80. I think it's easier if I type. There you go. And just say OK. We're going to do the same thing to Girl Middle. Again, make sure you are on the color thumbnail. We're going to go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. And it did retain the same settings. And we can just say OK. Now it really looks like she's falling, doesn't it? That's kind of a neat effect. We haven't saved in a while, so we're going to go Command S at this point. We now need to add some type. We're actually going to type the word summer. Now, from experience, we know if we do not have the right layer selected, it'll be stuck under something because the text tool automatically adds a layer above the one that you have selected. We are going to go ahead and select Girl Bottom. Let's go over to our text tool and click on it, or we want the horizontal type tool, or just type a T on your keyboard. Now let's go ahead and set some parameters up here. I happen to like a font called Shannon. So I'm going to look for Shannon, and it has a little red A next to it. Go ahead and select Shannon, And I'm going to go with extra bold, and I'm going to go ahead and make it 200 for the size. And all I'm going to do, and black is fine, is just click, and I'm going to type in caps, by the way. I'm putting on my cap lock, summer, and there we go. Now we're going to work on warping the text. Up at the top you see an interesting icon. It says Create Warped Text. Go ahead and click on this, and we are going to apply a warp. We are going to use Arc Upper, and just say, there we go, and just say okay. You could adjust it if you want, but it looks like the default is pretty good. Alright, now we can go ahead and move it. I'm going to reduce everything here. There we go. I want it in the middle of my picture, so I'm in the Move tool. Again, I selected the Move tool. I'm going to take Summer and move it more in the middle, kind of like this. Perfect. Now we want to go ahead and apply a gradient to this type because black, it's okay, but it could be a lot better. We're actually going to add another layer, make a selection of Summer, and color it. All right, that'll make more sense as we go on. But what I'm going to have you do is make sure you're on the Summer layer and go ahead and add a new layer. Create a new layer down at the bottom here. Now click back on the Summer and you'll see what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the magic wand, W keyboard shortcut. I'm going to go ahead and set the tolerance to 20, which is going to make it pretty tight. It's going to be pretty picky what pixels it selects. Click on the S of Summer, hold Shift. My cap lock is still on, so I'm going to take it off. Hold the Shift and it's adding each letter. So I'm just holding Shift and click, Shift, click. Great. Now click back on layer 1, which we're going to change the name to gradient, so we don't get confused. Now you can apply a gradient because it's actually just a path on a layer. So go ahead and type a G on your keyboard. You want the gradient tool. Keep in mind it shares a place with some other tools. Okay, so it could be under the paint bucket. Up at the top you get your choice of gradients. I think orange, yellow, orange is perfect for Summer. And all you're going to do is hold down with your mouse, click on the left, drag to the right, and you now have colored type. Looks great. But I'm going to do just a little bit more to jazz it up here. We are going to go up to Layer, Layer Style, Bevel and Emboss. Can move it down a little bit here, and you can adjust it if you want. You can make it a little bigger. I'm going to make mine just a bit bigger, 18, but this is kind of up to you. You can adjust it the way you want. Let's also turn on a drop shadow because that looks great. And now I say OK. Now I want to get rid of that path, so I can either go Select, Deselect, or Command D will work. And we've got some pretty good looking type here. Now this, let me show you what you have done. I'm going to turn off this layer, and there's your black one underneath. We want to get rid of the black text layer, so click on that, hit delete. Yes, we do want to delete it, and Command S. Congratulations, you are done. Looks awesome. You've learned how to warp type, how to add effects, how to add a motion blur, how to duplicate layers. You have really, and use the layer mask, so you've done a lot in this lesson. Good job.